Hi, Spokes. Today I'm filming from my hotel room in Birmingham, Alabama, where I traveled for the National Writing Project's Urban Sites Conference. So as I think about this question, how I learn, I think about some of the things I learned this weekend. I learned from a lady who was active in the civil rights, Janice Kelsey. And I had a chance just a couple nights ago to sit at a small table with about 7 or 8 other people and listen to Janice's story about how she marched here in Birmingham and was arrested and held in jail for 4 days. And I got to hear her reflections about what things were like in her community prior to the march, her marching, and after the marching, and then subsequently during the bombing of the 16th Street Baptist Church. So I learned a great deal, and I'm still thinking a lot about everything I've learned this weekend. But in that case, I learned through stories, and being able to ask someone who I would consider an expert questions. Now, Janice would probably say she's not an expert, but for me, I had the opportunity to access an expert and ask her questions, and also hear stories. So I learned by hearing stories. I also had an opportunity to learn with Paul O., who asked me to help with the session he was leading on making as learning and the principles of connected learning. So in that case, normally I would do a ton of preparation to present at a conference like this, but at the invitation of Paul, I got to help him go through his agenda, and I got to offer revision suggestions to his agenda, and we went back and forth about who should do what and what are the outcomes of this session, and I got to hear Paul reflect on his planning so far. So I really got to learn through a collaborative planning process, and then through a collaborative teaching activity, and then a quick collaborative reflection afterwards. So in that way I learned by collaborating. I think the important common threads between learning from Janice Kelsey's story by listening and thinking, and I plan to write about it, but I've learned already from Janice, and then learning with Paul was a different type of learning experience altogether. The common thread, though, for me is that all of this learning is interest-powered. I had a real interest in hearing Janice's story when I sat down. I was interested to collaborate with Paul on how he was planning to work with a group around connected learning principles and to think through why technology is important. I think the learning I do with this group is also interest-powered because I'm very interested in the different viewpoints that show up on this channel. Thanks for your time. Happy Sunday.